What would you do if I told you that my great aunt lived her whole life in a town with a McDonald's but never ate there once? If you remember Black Generation X and any generation after that, McDonald's has probably been a staple of your society and of your community. For me, growing up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, it was the cornerstone. It literally was the place that shaped a good part of my adolescent and especially my teenage years. So you can imagine how mind blown I was to find out that my great aunt, who had been in Pine Bluff for all of these years, had never once patronized this place. But there was a reason. Growing up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, McDonald's was considered a staple. It was literally located on Main Street. It was about a couple of blocks away from the local high school that I ended up going to. It was one of the few in the country that had an arch as opposed to arches. It was a mainstay. And by the time I got to high school, it was a significant part of my cultural experience. After every football game, all the kids would roll down to McDonald's and cruise in the parking lot. It was the go-to spot for lunch during lunchtime when we were in school. For us, McDonald's wasn't just merely some fast food restaurant. It was a signature staple of our community, and more importantly, it was representative of a part of our life coming up. But as we got older, McDonald's took on a greater meaning. We're talking about an entity that literally was a sponsor of a lot of predominantly Black events, whether it be HBCUs, whether it be Black concerts, whether it be scholarships for kids. McDonald's, from Black Generation X purposes going forward, has been a consistent supporter of initiatives focusing on people of color. But even to my surprise, as I got older, it still took on a cultural significance, because even after I left Pine Bluff and went to college in Tampa, McDonald's was still a cultural staple. For me, when I pledged at the University of South Florida, there was only one McDonald's in the Tampa Bay area that was 24 hours. And guess what? After every party, that's where we went. And I'm talking about just a couple of us. It would be en masse. We would drive and cruise the parking lot. We would go inside and order food. We would shoot the breeze. It was the only place in the area that was open 24 hours a day, and they welcomed us. And again, this became a part of my experience. For me, whether it was my McDonald's experience in Pine Bluff as a high schooler, or whether it was McDonald's in college, McDonald's to me was a safe, secure, reliable place. So imagine what went through my mind when I found out that my great aunt, and I found this out in my 20s, had never gone to McDonald's. Who doesn't go to McDonald's? Come on, man, this McDonald's. For me, this was a shocker, because in my mind, I'm thinking there has to be a legitimate reason. Maybe something was food bad, you got a bad egg McMuffin, maybe the service was bad, maybe the sodas were flat. Come on, this is McDonald's. Why wouldn't you go to a McDonald's? Then I realized it was a much deeper reason. My great aunt's daughter, my Aunt Joy, cousin, aunt, don't ask. So once shared the story with me about this, and I had to ask, why would my Aunt Bernice go? And so she had to explain to me that my great aunt, who had grown up in Pine Bluff as well, she had been there for basically her entire life. And while she was there, she grew up in a time where McDonald's refused service to people of color. So for her, it hit deeply. And it wasn't that she necessarily wanted to go, or it wasn't even that Aunt Joy was telling me that Aunt Bernice had a burning desire to go. It's just that there was a time that Aunt Bernice could remember that this establishment specifically denied service to Black people. And she took that to heart. So when finally McDonald's was in a position where it decided it would now provide service to people of color, my Aunt Bernice's attitude was, if my money wasn't good then, when you were refusing service to me, it's not good now that you've decided you're going to give me service. So when my great aunt passed at 84 years of age, I had to really take stock of what she said. Standing on purpose and standing on business, she made the decision that she was not going to patronize a company that on one breath she could remember when they refused treatment to people like her, and then on the next breath would finally say, okay, now it's okay. For her, that was a stand that she was willing to take, and she did it. And when I heard that, it hit me really hard. Once I heard that story, I had to take this and keep it in a particular context and remind myself that my experiences was different from hers. She experienced the pain of what it was like to have businesses that would refuse her treatment one day or refuse her service one day, and then finally, because the government and the law changed, they had to, or from a business standpoint, they made the determination they had to. In her mind, that was a line that she was not willing to cross. And I had to remember that my experiences was much different. I didn't have that type of experience. McDonald's never refused me service. I never lived during a time where that was my reality. As a matter of fact, not only did McDonald's not refuse my service, they were an active participant in the Black community and an active contributor to Black organizations and activities through my lens. But through her lens, it was very different because she could remember a time when they were not. The other thing that I had to remind myself, and this is one of the things that I would probably share with my younger viewers and younger generation, be careful when you are quick to tell people that they should get over something and it happened in the past and we've moved on. They haven't, and they're still here. We still have a generation of people who had to endure that pain so that you could live a life where you didn't have to endure that pain at all. And if you disregard what they went through or blow it off or minimize it, you completely overlook the fact of two things. One, they went through that so that you could ensure that you didn't have to. And two, they are like life lessons learned that they can share with us to make sure future generations don't ever have to go through that. And what I also realized is that a member of Generation X, this was a story that was passed to me that I didn't know existed. I would not have known that my aunt refusing to get food from this establishment was as a result of her deep-seated trauma that was exposed to her as a result of going through Jim Crow and businesses for refusing service, had it not been her daughter sharing with me this story. My aunt never said a word. Like, my Aunt Bernice never mentioned this was her reason. She just chose to do so. That was her personal reason. She wasn't telling everybody out in the community, don't go to McDonald's. This was just something because of the pain she experienced. But if it wasn't for my Aunt Joy telling me about what my Aunt Bernice experienced, I would have never known that this was something that she carried in silence. It's important to remember that regardless of where you are in your life, different things come at different points and it may have a different cultural impact. For me, my generation and generations going forward, McDonald's has been a staple. It has been a mainstay. It has been a safe place for resilience, for reliance, and support in the Black community in ways that still resonates even today. But we cannot overlook the fact that there was a time when this was not the case. My great aunt was a living example of what it means when someone goes through the pain of being told that you are not worthy of getting treatment. You are not worthy of service. But the biggest thing that's important is that we cannot ignore those stories. We cannot just merely dismiss and say that because we aren't going through the pain, therefore we shouldn't bestow the history of the pain others endured because we're holding on to the past. I learned so much more just from that one little story, and it's my responsibility to share it going forward so the future generations know, never forget the pain they went through because it could possibly be the pain you experience in the future.